Hey, I'm Leah Parker with Parker Place Woodwork, and I am the maker behind the infamous hand chair, 400 plus pound anomaly that sits here at Cafe Crema for now. To talk about how I got here, you don't just start out your maker journey making a hand chair. My journey started 7+ years ago whenever me and my husband lived in Tyler, Texas. We were newlyweds. We didn't have two sticks to rub together until his dad started taking down an old church, and he gave us this very, very old, beautifully figured pine wood. And we needed a coffee table, and so we made one. And that same coffee table, which was our first build, sits on his parents' back porch today. It's still kicking, it's still going. Don't look at any of the joinery. But that started this idea of, if I don't have it and I can't buy it, well then let's just go make it. And it started to snowball throughout the years. It started with coffee tables. It went into decor for my dad, who was retiring from DuPont from 36 years. And I made some decor for his front porch party because he was retiring to the front porch. From there, that began a sellable idea of, well, if I can make this for him, why don't I make it to sell? At that point in our lives, my husband was about to go into radiology school, and here I am in my front yard making all these pallet decor items, selling it. And there was a generous parent to one of the students that I taught. I was teaching for 10 years at that time, and she got me into a booth at Canton, Texas, which is one of the biggest flea markets in Texas. At that point, I started to low-key roll out a business. Little did I know I was going to become Parker Place at that moment. All I knew is that my husband needed to go to radiology school, and this was going to pay for it. So for 2 years, we were able to pay his entire tuition through woodworking and making pallet decor items and selling it at Canton, Texas. That is where everything started to shift. But just at that shift of Leah making stuff becoming Parker Place, so did our lives shift as I became pregnant with our first daughter. And then my big baby retirement happened. I exited the education system. We moved here to Atlanta, Texas, and I became a stay-at-home mom. And making things took a back seat to becoming a mother and learning the ropes of what being a mom entails. But the same way that I started began to creep back in. We needed a crib. We didn't have a crib, so what did I do? I made it. We made a crib for my daughter, which was a bedside crib that tucked into our bed. From there, we needed a place to put our toys, so I made a toy bin. In the same way that Parker Place started, began to creep back into our lives. We began making these solutions to our home that we couldn't afford. And then, just like it started to begin with, those solutions began to be sellable items all over again. So here I am, a stay-at-home mom in Atlanta, Texas, and I'm making these things for my home. And then I started making again to be able for other people's homes and selling. And then Parker Place was birthed. Probably the official Parker Place came about 7 years ago. Add 2 more kids into the mix, and I went from being a maker that made solutions to a maker that made signs. That's where my business began, with a scroll saw. I hand cut every piece and made logos for a few area businesses, for myself. And then from there, it became bigger and better joinery. Ended up constructing really great and long-term cutting boards. And then it became solutions for a kitchen that were made out of hardwoods. So I began to find myself in the past 2 to 3 years, not only am I making solutions, but I'm making heirloom type quality products. Things that reflected East Texas, things that reflected quality and craftsmanship, things that reflected who I wanted to be as a mother, not just doing things well, but doing things exceptionally. And then I brought that same concept back into my shop. And fast forward to today, in the past year, I was able to partner with a bunch of different online businesses. These businesses create these challenges. Maker Challenge Central would partner with a sponsor, and they would create these challenges and give all the makers on Instagram a prompt. The one that we see here in Cafe Crema today, I partnered with Sabertooth, which is a power carving company, and they gave the challenge, can you make something pop culture and can you put your own spin on it? And it had to be power carved. So if you're new to power carving, that's taking an angle grinder with a big dish, it's taking burrs, and it's carving out your form and your function. So I started looking at it, and when I was a kid, I loved the idea of 60s and 70s decor. One of the items that you still see in decor today was a hand chair made famous by a maker in the 1960s, I believe. He created a hand chair, and the way that it was styled, it just took off in mid-century modern design. And so I remember that. I was never able to afford one as a kid, which I don't blame my parents for that at all. And so I thought, well, I could never buy one whenever I was a kid. Why don't I just make it as pop culture mid-century design, kind of a build? And so December, actually late November, I reached out to Red River. I said, hey, do you guys want to pair up with this build? And they were like, let's go. And so I was able to get the materials I needed from those guys, went back into my shop, and from start to finish, it took about a solid month plus a week or so to bring that into being. A little bit of background story, I'm not a professional power carver. I am not really a professional at anything. If anything, I'm stubborn. Some people get that confused with talented, but in my mind, I knew that I could logistically figure out a way to do it that would make sense because of my previous builds where I know how to laminate things, I know how to carve enough, I've got a hand to look at. So in my mind, it was just, let's just take this and inch away at it, and let's see if we can get it to where it is in my brain, to what I'm thinking of. And if you're stubborn enough, if you have the right cheerleaders in your life, you can do those kinds of things. And so here I am looking at, a huge hand chair that my entire family can sit on at one time. And I think it's a true testament to, if you know what you want and if you can find a way to get there, be stubborn enough and get after it. There's nothing that can stop us besides ourselves, in my opinion. Maybe a snowstorm might delay you, but it's not going to stop you. That also happened here in Texas. So thanks for sticking around for the story behind the hand chair. Please come out to Cafe Crema in Atlanta, Texas. Come sit in it, give it a look. Take a picture with it. Make sure to tag both Cafe Crema and Parker Place Woodwork. We would love to see Atlanta Live come and take part in this piece of art in this wonderful place that produces some of the best coffee in Texas. If you would like to follow me and see more of my adventures, which there are plenty to come, follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Parker Place Woodwork. And please stick around and follow Cafe Crema, Red River. These guys are behind makers like